Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my baby, I make plans for 7:45, and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Well, good evening, CFN, and happy Victoria long weekend to Adele, to Sarah, to Tony, to Trisha's who's with us, David who's with us, Christina, how you doing? Sean Fortie's in the house, Eve's in the house, Richard Dunlop's here, Brad Frost, how you doing? Listen, I know it is a bad night to be doing this. If you are a Leaf or Habs fan or a hockey fan in general, I apologize for that. I spoke to the Leafs, and unfortunately, they couldn't change it. They wanted to offer their apologies for booking a playoff night the same night as CFN Live. We'll get over it. Anyway, thanks for all who have joined. Charles is in the house. Steve Shaw, yeah, baby. Lloyd, how you doing? Guys, I just want to bring to your attention, guys and gals, that we will be doing our giveaway tonight as well from Devil's Rock Tackle Company, as well as Skunk Fishing. Rick and Jerry are in the lobby. They'll be joining us. I want to draw attention to a new hat and a new sponsor. Not really a new sponsor. They've been with us before, but they've really dived in, and I want to thank David from North Shore Tackle. He sent us a banner, and I've got to get a little bit more strategic on where I place it so that we can see it. But big shout-out to North Shore Tackle. They have supplied, I've received a box, big box of stuff ready to be given away for the CFN Fish Off, as well as many other giveaways that we do. MFS did the exact same thing. MFS, who is up there, and of course Meigs, they represent the Meigs Jigs, gave us a huge tackle pack as well, and we'll be setting that all up for the CFN Fish Off, and we are going to be giving good news about the CFN Fish Off. So stay tuned to that. Mike's going to be joining us very soon. How's everybody's weekend so far? How was your weather? Weather down here in Southern Ontario was great. I know it rained a little bit up north. It was cold. You had some wind. But how was everybody's weekend? Did you get out fishing? Hopefully you got out fishing. I can't imagine a long weekend that doesn't include fishing. Although when I was younger, it included a few other things that we probably can't bring up here. But needless to say, fishing was definitely something we did during the day. How you doing, Joe Moore? Joe Moore's in the house. Martine, how you doing, Martine? Good to see you. Big Kevin's here. David Speaker's in the house. And David, it was nice to see you catch that walleye as you were trying very hard this weekend to target those fish. It was great to see things all come together. Great plan. You had some great advice from various people who sort of pointed you in the right direction. Not to say you didn't know what you were doing. You certainly knew what you were doing, but it was nice to see things come together, and that's what it's all about. I want to now put up a banner that I want you guys to have a look at, guys and gals. I say that all the time. Please don't be offended by that. It's just me. This is the link, and we're going to be talking to Lawrence about this. This is actually, he wanted to draw attention to it at the very beginning. It is a hot topic. The BC Wildlife Federation has obtained DFO documents showing DFO actually changing the actual recommendations that were put forth by scientists regarding the protection of steelhead that transit through the Fraser River. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, if you've been following the issues that are going on out west, you'll understand how big a deal this is. And of course, it begs the question, what else have they done, in regards to misguiding information, misleading information, misreporting? The list is very long, and I know that this issue is never going to go to bed, because what we're left with, unfortunately, is a broken fishery that needs to be fixed. And I think the finger pointing obviously is just starting by the looks of things, but this is a really good podcast that Lawrence wanted me to draw everyone's attention, because it is exclusive to CFNers. It hasn't been shared anywhere else. So you lads and lasses are the first to click on that link and go to a podcast that no one else has heard. That is, pretty shocking. Anyways, it's important that we listen. It's important that we become educated on the issue. It is a big issue. It's going to become an even bigger issue when we start deciding on how we're going to fix the issue, but it's going to spark some heated future discussions. Lawrence and I will be discussing it later on, so I want you to stay tuned to that, because we're going to learn a lot, and some of it we may not be happy to learn. Tourney Tuesday, this week's going to be busy. Obviously, we got Tourney Tuesdays tomorrow. We're going to be giving you hopefully a really big announcement. We're going to sort of generalize it today and keep in the neutral end of things, because there's still a few questions that need to be answered, a few folks we need to talk to in regards to it. But, with them opening up things like they are, it looks as if it might go. So stay tuned to Tuesday. And, of course, TNT Thursday, Cameron Tate's going to be joining us. He's going to be doing a Spanish fish dish, and we are going to be sharing a bunch of other things as well. Cameron, I can't thank him enough for doing that for us. And if you've seen some of his stuff in the past, you'll understand how easy it's going to be. He's going to make it look easy, how delicious it's going to look, because they always look delicious, and how many ingredients it involves, because you'll be shocked that it doesn't require, a multitude of ingredients. So it's almost like a quick store visit. You can get all the necessary ingredients, and you can put whatever it is that he is going to unveil to us together in like 45 minutes, if that. Also, I wanted to thank all of you who have purchased a CFN jersey, as well as this new piece of swag behind us. This is the CFN Signature Series hoodie. It is the Walleye edition. It was our inaugural run. I may have had a little bit of say in it, just saying. But anyway, needless to say, that is our first run. And I know that there's a few of them have been ordered already, plus the number of CFN jerseys. So everyone, we're going to be compiling a list from now till, I don't know what the date is going to be to end, but we're going to compile a list. It'll be definitely by the end of the year, if not earlier. And everyone who has purchased a new jersey, as well as one of our Signature Series hoodies, you are going to be entered in the draw for an SLX spin casting rod. It is my favorite rod. I'm literally giving you the rod. I'm giving you my own personal rod that I love. This is my go-to. There's a couple of them that I love that from Shimano, but in terms of all around quality, craftsmanship, sensitivity, versatility, you name it, this rod offers a whole whack. And I want to give it to a CFNer who has purchased either a jersey or one of our hoodies. So make sure you understand that if you are helping the cause and supporting the community, you're going to be rewarded in one way or another. Also, so again, thanks to everyone who has purchased one. Tracy from Camp Macintosh wanted me to give you a few announcements because, as I said, things are opening up, and she wanted to pass along what was going on up at Camp Macintosh in terms of availability. So June 2nd, she has a 4-day opening package. It's an opening pack. I believe the camp is opening that weekend. So she has a 4-day opening package that it includes 3 to 6 cabins are available that weekend. So I would say maybe a third, close to half the camp is open. So the opening weekend, and just because folks may not know that they can go, and it certainly appears like that's the road we're going down. These packages are available. They're 4-day packages, and it's opening weekend. 3 to 6 cabins are available depending on how many people you need to sleep. June 10th to 14th, there is 1 cabin available, and it sleeps 6. So that's nice for a good group of people. June 30th to July 4th, there are 2 cabins available. July 9th to 13th, there's 1 cabin that sleeps 4 that is available. So if you're looking to get away and fish some big fish waters for the CFN Fish Off, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I highly recommend you booking now. And speaking of the Fish Off, let's bring in the one and only Mike CONSUL to discuss it more. Mike, how you doing this evening?
Good evening. Good evening. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday it is. It'll be even happier, a happier Tuesday with the announcement that we're hoping to make. I don't want to dive too much into it because, as I said, fingers are still crossed, toes are still crossed. We do have a few people that we have to reach out to get the green light. But, Mike, it's starting to look very promising.
Yeah, with, basketball courts opening up and golf opening up, we're hoping we just got to make a couple phone calls just to make sure we cross, all the T's and dot all the I's. We will make an announcement tomorrow in terms of the official start date of the CFN Fish Off. So with that, we have prize pack, pre-tournament prize pack number 2. I just posted it while you were talking. All you got to do is go to the pin post at CFN Fish Off on Facebook and tag someone that is not registered for the Fish Off. As long as you tag someone that is not registered for the Fish Off, you'll get 1 ballot into that pre-tournament prize pack. And if they actually do end up registering, that'll give you 5 additional ballots into that pre-tournament prize pack. So you can get 6 ballots in the pre-tournament prize pack if whoever you tag ends up registering. And I have some really, really big news before I go, because the rest of it we'll talk about tomorrow. 1, we had a cap of 150 teams, but all weekend, people were like, oh, I didn't register yet, or I thought I had time because you're delayed. And so we recruited another judge. You will meet that judge tomorrow. He'll be live with us. And because we were able to get more members of the team, we can extend past the 150 cap that we put in place just because it's so much work. But now with an extended team member, we can extend that cap. So all of you that were messaging or worried that you can't get in, come meet our judge tomorrow. Thank him. Because of him, we're able to extend our 150 team draw. And next is because our new judge, he was looking at the list and he was like, you know what? We have, and I'll get him to talk about it tomorrow, but we have almost every province and every territory covered in terms of at least 1 team that has registered from that region.
Who are we missing, Mike? What provinces are we missing?
PEI and Northwest Territories. That is it. But this judge, who you'll meet tomorrow, he contacted some of his peeps in PEI. So now we have a team in PEI. So the only place we're missing is Northwest Territories. So thank you. Thank you to all registered for making us Canada's largest online multi-species tournament. Which will start.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah, it is. And start date, come join us tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Let me just show you one thing on this pre-tournament prize pack we just added. You know the Lima brothers, Team Chrome Chasers.
Oh, yeah, baby.
So they're donating a bunch of these to various prize packs. They're rod ties, and they made them CFN colors. So awesome rod ties. So thank you to Team Chrome Chasers and everything on this table. We'll show it tomorrow. All you got to do is tag a friend. Hopefully they register. But even if they don't, you'll get a ballot into that prize draw.
So, Sean, to your question, no Yukon. We do actually have a Yukon team, and we now also have a Nunavut team. So the only provinces that we didn't have anybody registered from was Northwest Territories, and now it sounds like PEI is going to have a team. So we're hoping that we have somebody in the NWT region that's looking to compete. It would be great to have representation from all provinces. That is definitely our goal at the CFN Fish Off. And wouldn't you love to see some of the fish that they catch up in Northwest Territories?
That would be crazy.
I know I would.
We'll talk about it more tomorrow, Scotty. Everyone come join us, 7 o'clock.
Right on, buddy. Well, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Quick as always, Mike, as you always are, and right to the point. But we look forward to talking to you tomorrow, and hopefully with a really big go forward green light announcement.
One last thing. I just want to give a shout out to Handlebars Musky Lures.
Yes.
They put together an awesome fundraiser for a great cause. So that's why I'm wearing this hat today. So thank you, Handlebars.
Absolutely fantastic. All right, Mike, you take care. Thanks for doing this.
Peace.
All right, so stay tuned tomorrow, Tourney Tuesday with Mike and I, and hopefully we will get you the announcement that we're all waiting for. And truly, when I say we're all waiting for, we're hoping that it happens. But we have to be cautious on how we do it. We have gone above and beyond to make sure that we can do it safely and keep all you CFNers away from that virus, but still able to fish and have fun and perhaps maybe even meet up with a couple CFNers along the way. That's what it's all about. That's why I love it so. And when you get to see it on TV, it's you get it. Like you totally understand it. So anyway, I've done enough rambling. It's time to get to our guests. But before we do, this is by far my favorite video. Let me share it with you if you haven't already heard it. Well said, Joe, the man, the myth, the legend. Big Jim McLAUGHLin, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. Hope everybody's good out there.
I hope so as well, dude. It has been a glorious weekend for us weather-wise. I hope folks got out in the water or, somewhere on a dock or some kind of structure at the edge of a shoreline somewhere, because this was extremely conducive for fishing and for all anglers. Did you get out, Jim?
No, I was actually really surprised at how quiet the boat launch was. Like, there was a few pleasure boats, but usually on the Sunday or the Monday of a long weekend here, you get your 24 hours of mayhem, and it didn't happen. So it kind of made me feel good, because right now it's what we really need to be doing to get the rest of the summer here when it really starts to count.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, dude.
We're on the brink.
We are. Some areas are are not as good as others. You know, our folks, good folks, friends, and family, I'll say, up in Timmins area, are going the wrong way. They've had a spike in cases lately, and of course, the province of Manitoba has also seen an increase in cases incrementally. So well, again, tomorrow when we do announce what we are with the fish off, we have to make sure that all our ducks are in a row and we're following the proper protocol. But so far, so good. The green light is getting greener.
So I'm not giving you the finger.
Oh, what'd you do? Well, you
Friday
can.
Friday night, I drive by this spot and I said to Tammy, I said, look, you want lilacs? There's a sea of them. And it's on the edge of a field. There's no ditch to walk through. You can drive up, get up and help yourself. I suppose it's private property, but I mean, it's one of those places where there's no ditch in it, and the road is like this far, literally from the lilac. It's a little back lane type thing. So I pull out the old cutter and I get out and I'm cutting off 4 or 5 pieces, and I'm being so careful to bend them down and cut away. So as I cut them, nothing happens, eh? So I'm pulling on a branch and I'm about to cut it, and it breaks. So you're applying some pressure. So it breaks, and I pull it back quick and go like this, and the other branch pulls my hand back holding the knife, and it slices the side of my finger, and no guff. Picture taking a hot dog and cutting off about 1/16 of an inch, and it's hanging down like a leaf. And that's my finger. It's like up like this, and the piece is hanging out, and the blood, it was like I haven't seen this much blood since my youth.
My youth.
I tell you, it was a lot. It was more blood than came out of me when I fell there a couple of years ago. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. So stupid me. I finished. I pin it with my finger. I cut off a couple more. I handed her the thing. She looks at me. She goes, "What happened?" Blood's dripping off my elbow. It's everywhere. So I get the rag. I put it over it. I drive home. I rinse it under the water, which wasn't a good move. You know what happens to cold water on an open cut like that. I mean, this is like I was this far off the ground. And anyways, I wrapped it up, and I just left it. Kids today. And I get up in the morning, and I look at it, and it's like growing back on.
It's amazing.
It's not loose or anything, you know. And I had put this steroid stuff that I have on it. And so I just, like that, lightly wrapped it up again with some more of the steroid stuff and left it. And I'm not kidding. It's wild the way it has grown back on so quick. But if it would have been a little bit more to one side, it would have been right down where the bone is. Like it literally just cleared the bone on the outside. But so,
I'm beginning to think you're not human. Was the blood red?
Some of it.
Wow. Going back that fast though, Jim, that's incredible.
It shocked me how in that time, and now there's a little line that runs like from here all the way up across the end and down. You can see the flap where it was just up, but fingers crossed, eh? Fingers crossed, eh?
Some cool.
So that's my lilac adventure for the year.
Chuck B, because I'm not going to call his last name because I always butcher it. He's asking, did it have some bass scent to it? Rick Shaver, this is the most important question of it all. Did you end up getting the flowers though?
Boom shakalaka. As my buddy Mercer would say, giant lilacs. The scary thing was that I had cut off about 6 when this happened. And then I got about 3 or 4 more before I started to feel dizzy. No, I'm just kidding. I wasn't feeling dizzy. I was born dizzy. You don't have to worry about it. And I got them back in the truck, but it's a nice full bouquet. And when we get up in the morning on Saturday morning in the living room, you could just smell it because nothing's been moving. I turned the air conditioning off. There was no air to speak of really moving. I just the one window open, and it was really, really cool to see the smell of the house. It's Tammy's favorite smell in the world. So
well, gee, you've made all of us husbands look bad. Did anybody else leave this weekend with flowers?
That was my intent.
Wow. Well, you know what? We should all go to the box and feel shame. Incredible. Wow. Okay. Well, listen, now that it's
So
your show,
I'm all excited.
Yeah.
Look what
Oh,
I got.
let's have a closer look at that. Nice.
Now, I got a rhythm wave on the back of that. A couple of years ago, when the guys from Freedom, this is from Freedom, and like I don't work for these guys. I have nothing to do with them. It's a Canadian company. I like to support them whenever I can. That's their new jig. They have a whole series of them out there. One of the cool things about it is to hold your bait on the back of trailer. See that?
That's awesome.
The way that's molded in like that.
And for all of us who use plastics and love using plastics, that is probably one of our biggest pet peeves, is that there's not a lot of bait savers on but the actual hook
itself.
The
big musky jigs that I showed you that I'm working on getting done, we're still working on that. Now the next thing is, it's amazing. I can't get the hooks big enough right now. They're just not available. Like I called a couple of the big companies, like I called Mustad, and like they don't have a sample to send you. But some other things that they did besides getting the skirts really nice is it's not a great big long weed guard. See the way the weed guard ends? Just right at the hook.
Right.
So often you'll see guys make jigs and the weed guard's up here. They use a weed guard that's just way too long. That is just perfect because it has the flex at the end to bend. And whenever you're using a lure like this too, always take your weed guard and just give it a little pull apart like that. You can see. So when it's back together, it just leaves it a little bit more of an opening. It'll just give you a little bit more. Plus, it protects the hook more because it's wider now. But when a fish sucks that in, you got to remember, bass don't come up and bite things. No fish do, really. They come up and they inhale them. They suck them in. That's why if you look at, we've explained this about film. Looking at it, one frame, the stuff is there. The next frame, it's gone. Well, that's a 26th of a second.
Yeah.
It's power. It's just gonzo.
What size is that jig? Charles is asking, what size is that jig? Is that a 3/8 or half?
I think, that particular one's a 3/8, but they have, as you can see on the package, they have quarters, 3/8, and half. And they have other jigs too. They have a whole series. They have football jigs. They have flipping jigs. They have all kinds of stuff. So it's
if you're pitching into heavy cover, do you recommend a heavier jig? Obviously,
as a general rule of thumb, yeah. Yep,
okay.
As a general rule of thumb for sure, because it'll go through easier. But a lot of times, I don't know whether I got lazy in recent years or whatever, but a lot of times I've gone to using a Texas rig because the Texas rig doesn't. It's like, if you put it in your hand and you slide it out, there's nothing to catch. The hook can't get, it takes a little bit of pressure. So it's really, really good. And nice thing I like about these jigs too, if you notice how small the head is, because the lead is spread along the hook for the thing to hold the trailer. The head is really small, and it's now there's not much to it. It's very important because when they eat something like this, when you set the hook, you got to remember that has to pass through the lips. So that's why a lot of guys, you'll see them set the hook really hard and miss the fish. When this hits the lips coming out, it pops their lips open for a second, and if the hook doesn't catch, it'll come back out,
Oh, gotcha.
And that's why you'll see guys when they fish with like, in fact, they were talking about it. I watched some stuff on MLF today, and they were talking about using 1.5 ounce and 2 ounce sinkers in heavy cover. And when the guys use those big 2 ounce sinkers, it's literally it's like this big. It's a huge sinker. But the fish has no problem sucking it in his mouth. It's gone. But if you set the hook really hard, when that sinker comes up to the fish's mouth, it slams into the inside, pops his mouth open because it's so wide it has to go around the whole sinker. That's why you'll watch these guys. They just they give it a good pull. And with braided line now, it's not as important as it used to do or used to be. But that's what keeps the fish's mouth from just banging open from the inside. It's something that people should really pay attention to because it'll get you a lot more fish. Now, a few weeks ago, we talked about this little baby. And this thing, it's a beautiful product. But look how small it is.
Oh wow! Yes.
Goes inside my hand. See it right there? That's what it is. Now that's made for fishing with light line. Made for fishing with light line. The Hagani frame on it, has all the features too, like the super free spool, the anti-rust bearing, cross drag system, the whole deal. But something it has that's really new, and it's let me read it off the spool here to be sure I get it right. It's a finesse tune braking system, and it's on the side here. You can see it right there.
Yep.
And it's amazing how little you can adjust it at a time to get the spool just right. And remember, you always got to fine tune here, but at the side here, the cast control, you don't want to have too much play. You remember we had a video from JP where people were complaining about the DC because the spool was slopping back and forth because they loosened this right off. Same thing. You want it just at the point where it doesn't move, where there's no play in it, and that's what you want. But something else that they have that's really, really cool too is what's the name of it here now? It's a D for drag. And
James just mentioned, he says, yeah, but Jim, you have hands the size of catcher mitts, so you make everything look small.
Everything. So I like crankbaits, all that stuff. There's a speed on it too, which is really nice. 8.5 to 1. But listen, can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. When the fish is pulling the drag, you'll hear that sound.
Interesting.
And this reel is recommended for 8-pound fluorocarbon. So it's meant for lighter situations where you want to use a bait caster.
Gotcha. And
I'm already cranked for next spring for my crappies out back, fishing with the little crankbaits and stuff. I'll be using a bait caster instead of a spinning rod. My hand on a bait caster just works. It's what I've done it for 50 years, 45 years. It's what it is. And you can tell too, because look at the spool, how little room there is for line.
Interesting.
And I mean, when it comes to the spool, whoops, come back. When it comes to the spool, I mean, it'll, they just spin so. It didn't. There we go. It just turns. I mean, it's just another Shimano work of art. When you look at it.
When I see something like this, and I know it's probably not necessarily feasible, and I don't know if everybody would be thinking this, but would that be something that you could cross over and use during hard water season? I know it's on the expensive side of things, but
yeah, that's not that bad. I think they're like $279, $274 in Canada. They're not outlandish. Yeah, there's a lot of spinning reels cost a lot more than that, but yeah, you certainly could use it. It's just that thing of being in a flip over some kind of a shelter and holding a rod in front of you like this, and the hook set where holding it the other way we do down. It's just it just doesn't feel natural. There's just something to it. I don't know what it is, but no, you could definitely do it for sure. There's no problem at all. You could do that all you wanted.
Now, going back to the swim jig, that jig, obviously with the paddle tail that you have attached to it, the rhythm wave, you're going to be swimming that. Are there instances where you would be jigging that or ripping that through hair?
Probably not. Maybe speed the handle up a little bit. Give the handle just like you were fishing a big swim bait, like a big jointed swim bait. You just give it like you don't really use the rod to retrieve it. It's just a series of motions. You turn the handle, just turn the handle, and it makes the swim bait move. This is the same type of thing. You're more apt to use the rod just a little bit to guide it and move it. Maybe lift and lower. If you feel it touch something, you lift it a bit. If it isn't touching anything, you drop it down. So, geez, I saw Christina put up there about Shimano being 100 years this year too. This guy says to me the other day, sends me a note when I posted that on Facebook, and he says to me, Jim, but they've only been doing fishing stuff for 50 years, but they've been doing bicycle stuff for 100. Did you read this? So I said, so it's really their 150th birthday? Well, he thought that I was dead serious, and he did a post so long that you had to scroll to read it, where he explained to me that I shouldn't be adding the two together. And he's a guy that I know. I've been fishing with the guy.
It wasn't Chonger, was it?
No. No. Oh, it
Oh,
was
that's
so funny.
hilarious.
But yeah, no, that's a couple of things I'm really excited about. I can't wait to get some of the new stuff. And they actually have a 7'2" X Bride and a 7'2" Zodius that have that BFS designation that they would match perfectly with this for that type of stuff. And a lot of times I'll fish in clear water if we're down here in Lake Ontario or something, and you want to fish a flick shake or something with maybe a little 1/8 ounce weight, that type of stuff. 8-pound test fluorocarbon on this rod, you'd be able to zing it a mile because you can cast, basically you can cast light things a lot further on a bait caster, at least I can, than you can if you get the right rod with the tip on the rod. Because spinning rods, the way the line loops off them and all the friction on the guides and stuff, it really it goes out fast, but it slows down really, really quick.
So give us a good example, Jim, when it comes to bait casts. What do you look for? What's a good name? Obviously, Shimano is what you know, but what are some good rod choices for bait casting?
Taking it right down, if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick something just at 7.2, 7.5, maybe even. You get away with 6.10, but I tend to. There's been a real movement toward longer rods, because they understand all the benefits of them, and as long as you have it matched to what you're doing, you can get away with murder with the stuff now. But it's medium heavy, basically an all-around type rod. I mean, I understand everybody isn't out there with 12 rods in the boat. It's just like I often explain to people that rods and reels are like carpenter's tools. That's golfers. That's why golfers have 10 clubs or 8 clubs or whatever. I don't know how many they have. I don't golf. But then some guys have like 15 clubs because they have different ones for more situations that are more precise when you get a little bit better. And it's the same with fishing too. If you get stuff that's a little bit better, you learn to use it in different situations, and you can go, you go a long way with it.
I'm going to ask Jim, and perhaps maybe you don't know, but for our CFN fish off participants, they are going to be fishing and hopefully the new owners of the Symmetry combos that are coming up from Shimano. Can you tell us anything about those?
I haven't even looked at them yet.
Brand new, from what I understand. Brand new combo, much like the SLX when we started.
I had a lady who works out at the gym I go to, and she sent me some pictures the other day, and she was all excited because she had just gotten one. She had gone through and ordered it online. I recommended it to her, and she had just gotten it online. She was getting it loaded up with line, and she was pretty excited about it. There's a young girl. We see so many young girls getting into fishing. Tammy and I get a kick out of it. There's 2 young girls that we see over here by South Lake beside me here, and one of them has her hair dyed purple on one side and chartreuse on the other, like split in the middle in half. Yep. It's really, really cool. And these kids are sitting there, and they drive there, so they're not like little kids. They're like teenagers, and they're sitting in their chairs. They have a bucket that they bring down, and they flip the bucket over, and they have their coffee sitting on it. You see them. They always have a Hortons, and the 2 of them sit on this culvert and fish. And, I just think it's so cool to see young girls like that doing this. In fact, I had a young girl contact me the other day. She put up a picture of a bucktail jig, and it was just a black and white jig. And she couldn't find them anywhere. Had one, and it got bit off. I made her a few, and I drove down to Kingston here this afternoon to get them to her. Tammy and I had to go to and pick up some prescriptions and things, and I waited for her, and I get there, and I said to her, well, you can't miss the truck because it's got Shimano on it. And she says, well, you can't miss me because my hair's flame red. I said, oh, a ginger. She goes, oh, no, this is out of the bottle. She messages me back, and she got there, and pow. And what a polite, nice young kid. She's probably about 18, 19, I guess. And just incredible to see how many young girls are out there fishing. And I see more and more of it. I see them down along the waterfront here in Gananoque. Some of them maybe even as young as like out alone too, like maybe like 12, 14. 2 or 3 of them sitting with their feet over the cement dock on the town dock, and they've all got a rod and reel, and they're all fishing away. it's inspiring to see them
You know,
all because from the very beginning, I always wanted girls to fish.
yeah.
I just thought that it was something that's why, when I see like what Yvonne's done, it just I get giddy because it was something that was huge that was missing, and now it's starting to be addressed. And I don't know if as many girls are ever going to fish as guys because there's always going to be that bit about it's just not a thing for girls. But a lot of girls obviously have realized that it is a thing for girls.
Yeah.
But it's got to be. I've got to check the stats. That it has to be a fast growing portion of the industry.
Oh, I would highly agree with you 100%, Jim. And I'll never forget it. 1994 at the Sportsman Show. I know I've told this story many times. Yeah. I'm sitting beside yours truly, and I said, Jim, where are all the ladies? And you said exactly. If we don't get some ladies into this sport is going to die. And what has been since then is a crusade of ladies that have been getting involved in angling. And yes, absolutely, the efforts of Yvonne and Heather over at GCFA doing exactly that has been just fantastic. But again, and I might be just thinking outside the box when I say this, but for a young girl, you don't have to be like, and I can understand that certain social settings might be intimidating. Fishing isn't one of them, right? You don't have to be pretty. You don't have to have the best makeup on. You don't have to be wearing, the most expensive clothing. You could just be you. And I think that's what truly has attracted myself, and I'm sure others that may not be ladies to the sport, is that you don't have to be glamorous. You don't have to be that token person. And I think that's what's really been inviting to the sport. And I'm hoping I'm right, but I'm sure it's just the fun of catching fish.
Well, and you look at a couple of savagely handsome guys like you and me, and
easy.
There's a lot of guys out there that fish that are really homely too. So it goes both ways.
It does. You're 100%. Tony asked a great question. And he asked this question a lot, so I'm going to put it to rest right here, right now. Does Shimano make two-piece rods? And the answer is yes. Tony, they make lots of two-piece rods. In fact, I have one, a Compre walleye rod that is by far, bar none, my favorite rod to use. Its sensitivity as a two-piece rod is outstanding, and it won't break the bank. It's very reasonable.
Hey, so I'll tell you a really good story about how two-piece rods have changed too. Years ago, we were up at the national sales meeting up at Hay Lake, up in Algonquin Park there, right on the, right by Whitney.
Yeah.
Phil Morlock's place, and Shimano had their national sales meeting there, and they invited a bunch of the fishermen up and the guys that are really more involved in it, like myself. And they had all the new stuff that was coming for next year. And this was like 8 months ahead. And when it was all done, Tom Brooks said to me, he said, all that stuff in the boat, because he borrowed my boat that weekend, and he said, all that stuff that's in the boat there, it's yours. Just take it. You've got it for giveaways and stuff. And there was a pile of stuff in there. He said, whatever you want to use, pick out what you want. There had to be like 35 rods and reels there, right? Like all the brand new stuff that was coming out. So that was really, really cool. I already had a pile of new stuff for the following year. And I got this one rod out, and I was fishing with it. And I thought to myself, wow, this is a really nice. So I go out one day with a buddy of mine, and it was so funny the way this happened. He says to me, would you ever use a two-piece rod? And I said, I don't think so. I don't know. I said, doing it in a tournament, a one-piece rod to me is just the deal. Like once you put a joint in the rod, the feeling's not going to be the same to me. This was before braided line too, so you had to feel everything on mono. Yeah. And whatever else. So a few minutes goes by in the boat, and he asked me again, and I couldn't figure out why. He says, "You really like that rod you're fishing with, don't you?" And I said, "Just one of the nicest rods I've ever fished with." And we were fishing 1/4 ounce fuzzy grubs with a minnow on it for walleyes. It was in the fall. And we're just hawking them out one after the other. Nothing big, but like 1 to 4 pound fish, the odd 4, most of them 2-pounders. We're having a great time. He says, I wondered, because he said, you're using a two-piece rod, eh? And I just froze and looked at the rod, and it was a two-piece rod. And wow. I didn't I didn't know. And I mean, I'm a little more apt to pick something like that out than the average person. And I had no idea.
Wow.
And I immediately took my reel off it and threw it in the river. I was embarrassed. No, I'm just I used to keep it. I actually used to keep that rod in the boat with 6-pound monofilament on it for whenever I got into a place like Lake Ontario or something that would be gin clear. I always had a true ultralight rod if I wanted it.
Nice.
And it was I used it for years. It was beautiful, and I believe it was a Crucial, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know off the top of my head if I don't think they make 2-piece rods in Crucial. I'm not sure anymore. I'd have to check on that. We've got so much stuff now. It's but no, that's how 2-piece rods are. Now there's still 2-piece rods that feel like 2-piece rods, but it just goes to prove that you can make rods. That's why Shimano's the pack rods that they have, the 4-piece and 5-piece ones over the years that they've had are so nice, because they had that same technology on the joints, so the rod still felt pretty good. So it's amazing.
Now,
And
just before we
rods, like a lot of folks just need them. They travel in a smaller vehicle. They can't put a 7.5-foot rod. The average guy just wants something that breaks down, So it's really good.
And as I said, the Compre that I have, I can't say enough about it. When it comes to sensitivity, I don't believe that I've sacrificed anything with that Compre as a 2-piece rod. And yeah, absolutely. I have the Ram boxes at the side of the truck, and it's really handy being able to put them in there. So it works out well. Now, before we let you go, Steve has a great question. I know knots is a big topic. I did find a really, really cool link. It's actually an app that I'm going to make available on CFN so that everybody can see it. It's a great display of how to do knots, because I'm a visual guy, and I'm sure a lot of you anglers are visual as well. And it's nice to be able to see the knot being tied properly. But what knot would you recommend for that 8-pound fluorocarbon? Steve struggles with knots, and I praise him for saying so, because he's not the only one. A lot of people do.
It just, always take your time. Always take your time. And I'm going to recommend that you tie a simple Palomar knot. Now, when I say simple, when I learned the Palomar knot, it was like, I'll never learn to do this. And now you could put me in a dark room and turn out the lights, and I tie it, and just do it. But when I learned to do it, it was a little bit hard. You have to go slow. You always got to test your knot too. Once you wet it, give it a lick and snug it down slowly, tighten it up, and then tighten it really, really tight. Like, seat that knot. You want to give it a good pull. You don't want to be going boing, boing, because that's how you break them. But pull it, make sure it's tight, because if you tie it wrong, there's a good chance it's going to break when you apply that good pressure. There's a good chance it will break. And I've had it happen in recent years. I tie a knot, I'm out in the boat, because I'm always one for retying, and I'll retie and I'll go, and it just breaks on a whole, things like that. So it's just, 8-pound Palomar knot. Palomar knot's like one of the best things that there is.
Fantastic, Jim. As always, buddy, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your knowledge. And there's lots more to come, lots to get at. You are a walking encyclopedia of a whole bunch of stuff, and we're just glad to have
you. It's a lifetime, buddy.
Yeah, it is. It truly is.
And I'm still working on our special guest.
Yeah, baby. Let's do it.
They got gung-ho in the filming season, but it'll happen. Yeah.
Right on. Well, if you guys don't know that or who that is, you're gonna have to stay tuned, because we're not gonna tell you. Anyway,
spell the name right. There's two N's.
It's easy not to. You're 100% right. It's easy not to.
I had a guy ask me if he wrote me a note, and he said, "Are you gonna have so and so on?" And he spelt it Linder, and I said, "I don't know who that guy is." I said, "We're having this guy on," and he sends back a bunch of question marks. It was funny, Yeah.
Right on, dude. Well, you take care. Have yourself a great week. We'll be in touch, my friend.
It's coming soon, kiddies. Be good.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Take care, guys.
All right. All the best, Jim. And girls, absolutely. And What I want to do now is just play a little intro. It's actually a small video of our North Shore beloved folks. It is from the winter. So please, I know we have to do an updated video, but here's just one of their plastics, one of their many plastics in action. Lawrence is with us. How you doing, Lawrence?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing
Right
well.
on. Well, listen, you have dropped a bomb with that link that we've been. I'll be honest, we're very honored that you've shared it with CFN first and foremost before anybody else. But it is there's some hotly contested subjects and innuendos and conversations that probably still need to be had that are still going on.
Mhm.
Give us a little bit of what we could expect from that podcast and some of the oh Lord moments.
Yeah. Well, we've been following this for years, and we've been talking to people on the West Coast in the know who are concerned with, there's three basic types of endangered fish in the Fraser River. There's juvenile sturgeon. We talked to Kevin Estrada from Sturgeon Slayers. He put together that 80,000 signatory petition that a member of parliament brought to Ottawa saying, hey, stop the gill netting. You're catching juvenile sturgeon. Everyone's saying the juvenile sturgeon population in the Fraser River is hurting. And we've got visual images of juvenile sturgeon, the perfect size, the salmon being caught in these gill nets. Then we also know that, wild Chinook salmon in the Fraser that go up the Fraser into all their different tributaries, they're in trouble. We always hear about that. We've had 2 years now of fish closures on the southern BC to protect wild Chinook salmon. It's all related to the southern killer whale pod there, right? And their food source and just the habitat in general. So we've got wild Chinook salmon being caught in these gill nets as well. We also know that the steelhead that move up the Fraser River and down to spawn into the various rivers up there, they're down to like 100, 250 of these wild steelhead populations, these various DNA strains, and they're getting caught in these gill nets. And people aren't intentionally catching these fish in their gill nets. They're going after sockeye, they're going after other fish, where there's more plentiful supplies. But gill nets are what they are. They're indiscriminate killers. A fish gets in there, it's in there, it's dead. You can't pull it out. It's, even if you let it go, there's a very high chance it's not going to survive, but good chance that when you pull those nets in, all the fish in the nets are dead. If something just went in there a few minutes ago, it might be able to get away, but that's 1 in 1,000 kind of thing. So we know, there's different types of gill net fisheries on the West Coast. There's commercial, there's indigenous, there are different places. In some places, like I know in Port Alberni in the inlet there, when you have 500,000 sockeye move into the inlet in a big pulse, you put some gill nets out, you're going to catch sockeye salmon. You might catch one other thing or, something else. It's not impossible. But when you get a big pulse like that, and you put your gill nets out, that's what basically you're going after. But the Fraser River, it's such a highway for so many different types of fish. You put a gill net in there, and you just have them in there, and between pulses, between runs, or different times of the year, and you're going to catch all sorts of bycatch, things you probably shouldn't be catching. You're catching fish that are endangered. So there was a lot of science, a lot of discussion about this, a lot of talk, a lot of committees, a lot of discussion about listing the steelhead, Thompson's steelhead, as endangered, and which would mean, if you list a fish as endangered, you have to take care of the habitat now. You have to eliminate things that are killing those fish. You have to now look at the big picture. Okay, what's in this habitat of this fish that's killing it? And then you have to take action to mitigate those threats to that fish. And you don't do it if it's not endangered, but if it's listed endangered, that's what that means. You have to do something now. And a lot of scientists were saying we should do this. BC government, the Species at Risk Committee, and they gave their advice to the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and they took it away. And in the end, they came back and said, no, I think we're fine. We don't need to stop gillnet fisheries. It's contributing $90 million over, a number of years to the economy. If we stop that, that would be a dent in the economy. So we think everything's fine. It can go ahead. And it had all the scientists just scratching their head, like, what's going on here? What's going on? How did they come to that decision? That's not what we suggested. That's not what the scientists suggested. That's not what they recommended. Was there other science we didn't know about that DFO had access to? So the BC Wildlife Federation in 2018 submitted an access to information request. And these things can take a year to process, and they can cost money. You get first thing the government does is says, well, this is what it's going to cost. They look at all the files they have to sort through, how much time it's going to take, and they come up with a rough estimate. And they say, this could cost you $1,000, $10,000 to process. Do you still want to do it? And the BC Wildlife Federation says, yeah, we want you to do it. So they got 2,800 pages of documents, emails, reports, and then they started going through it, and they started sifting through it, and they saw old reports that had been changed, scientific recommendations that had been shifted, and emails that were being exchanged within the department, emails that were being sent to the department from other levels of government saying, hey, this isn't what we suggested. Why are you coming up with this solution? This isn't what we recommended. But in the end, DFO makes these decisions. It's their prerogative to make these decisions. They're saying they're going to follow science-based precautionary principles. Follow the evidence. It's not going to be political anymore. This was a commitment they said in 2019 that they will be using science-based evidence to make these decisions from here forth onwards. And they didn't, right? They made a more of a political decision. They adjusted the language in some of these reports to reflect the decision they wanted to take, and they took those decisions. And as a result, the status quo exists. The gillnet fishery continues, and the fish that are being threatened continue to be threatened. Nothing's done about it. And people are they're not happy. They're not happy.
Well, I can imagine that they're not. And, it's one thing for us to get it wrong, and that happens. And I think everybody is human and understands that sometimes we get things wrong. But when we go about it the way it's being described, or at least the way you're describing it, I don't know if that is acceptable. Like, I don't know if it's inexcusable. When you're totally disregarding science and you're going rogue based on a political decision, and a lot of people would suggest that perhaps it had money behind it, that there was a money reason associated with it. It does. And I know a lot of comments in here, and I appreciate you guys being, somewhat understanding that there's a certain level of respect. How do we trust government? How do we trust our government faculties who are the ones that are ultimately making these decisions? Well, I would say the first way we do that is we question them. And obviously we're going to be doing a lot of that in the province of BC going forward. But I've always taken the stance that instead of making it a finger pointing exercise, why don't we just point in the direction that we need to fix things? Like, that needs to be fixed. This river needs a hatchery. Listen, we can say what we want. What is done is done. There's no fixing it. There's no going back and changing it. All we can do is fix it. And hopefully that province gets it right and they listen to the right people. And for no other reason, I say this is the most important. And I love what it's being done in other provinces. They engage the anglers in some of that decision making.
Absolutely, Scotty. It's the engagement of the stakeholders in the decision-making process, because we now know, that we have tools that give us a far greater ability to harvest, to create, unintentional destruction by this power of these tools that are in our hands now. This isn't, the olden days where we're fishing with spears or with gut, cat gut and homemade hooks or things of that nature, right? We now have some pretty incredible tools at our disposal. So we understand now that, okay, it's no longer just going out there and doing our best to provide for our families, to provide for our communities, because if we do our best every time we go out, it's not just a lucky day anymore. We're having lucky days every day. And we now know that if we have lucky days every day because of these tools, at some point there's nothing left, right? We've seen this, we've experienced this, and we've come to realization now we have to say, when is enough? And when do these tools need to be geared back or dialed back in some way? When does limits? And as anglers, as people who fish, we don't have the skills or the science to make those determinations. We know what's in front of us, we know what's below our boat, but we don't know necessarily the full extent of the situation. So we need science to give us this feedback so that we can make precautionary decisions, and we can support those precautionary decisions. Without that knowledge, we can't support anything because we have no idea why these decisions are being made. So by getting the stakeholders to the table, by sharing the data, so all the stakeholders see the evidence, we've got this much money in the bank, we've got 7 of us around the table, how are we going to divide this up? No one gets all of it. No one gets none of it. Everyone gets some of it. No one's really happy with what they got, but no one's really pissed off. That's a good deal, Scotty. You're a negotiator, right? You know that. That's the perfect deal, right?
Well, you have to find middle ground. There has to be some middle ground. And let's face it, there's always extremes on people's wants and wishes. You've got to find middle ground. That's the only way you come to a decision that makes sense. Never mind a decision at all. It's one that has to make sense. But it's definitely disturbing. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. I'm embarrassed I'm just embarrassed for DFO. I'm embarrassed for the anglers in the province. I'm upset for the anglers. It's disappointing news when you hear stuff like this. But at the end of the day, Steve's comment is exactly bang on. Get to the root cause, come up with a corrective action, and who cares whose or what groups are at fault. I think now, I hate to coin a phrase, but the first step in fixing a problem is understanding that you have one. And hopefully what we've done is expose that there are problems, not just in the fish, but obviously in the decision-making in our government officials.
If it was a purely a mathematic situation in terms of financials, right? In terms of making sure you keep the money rolling, to keep the engine on and the lights on, that'd be one thing. But I don't, I look at another situation, and we brought this up in this podcast. You guys should listen to this. It goes back to this whole idea of keeping some of the Chinook fishery in southern BC open over the last 2 years. Right now, from April 1st to the September, there's no fishing. There's no catch and release. There's no fishing for Chinook salmon in southern BC. You might as well just sell your boat, right? I mean, why have a boat if you can't take it out for 4 months, 5 months a year during the summer?
Right.
Why? So why is that? Why is that when we know, when there's scientists saying, same scientists, that, hey, we know where these hatchery fish are hanging out. We know where you can go and fish, and 99.9% of the fish you're going to catch are going to be hatchery Chinook, right? Not the wild Chinook that are in trouble, but the hatchery Chinook that are plentiful. And we know that people have GPS, and they have information about times and places, and they know, and maps, and they know how to, find these places and stay within these boundaries at certain times and report what they're catching and collect the heads and do the science at the same time. That's so essential. They buy the tags that pays for the science, that pays for the hatcheries. They collect the heads of the hatchery fish and turn them back to the scientists so that they can do their research. This is all happening by anglers out there in the water, and it can be done in certain spots along the coast with little to no impact on wild fish stocks. And yet, if that was a very strong case put forward to DFO. This is a $1.1 billion annual marine recreational fishery, right? In the ocean, not talking about the rivers in British Columbia or the lakes. This is just the saltwater stuff, recreational saltwater stuff. It's worth $1.1 billion in economic input. And the government for the last 2 years, the DFO said, no, it's too risky, or, no, not doing that for whatever reason. The answer is no. So another determination that defies science, but was taken by DFO at the highest level for reasons other than science. Now we have two strong examples of non-scientifically supported decision-making at the highest level and within DFO that's seriously altering the socioeconomic stability of communities and the future of all communities and the future of the fish stocks and the very foundation of our ecosystems on the West Coast, right? It's just we've got to take the blinders off. We've got to open up the doors. We've got to shed some light on this. We've got to get the people to the table, and we've got to share the science. Yeah, maybe DFO will make the decisions in the end, but if it's anything like what they have in Port Alberni with their roundtable, where they have all the stakeholders meeting every week, taking decisions together, making their recommendation to DFO, say, this is what we all agree you should decide on. It's almost suicidal for DFO to go say, thank you very much, we're going to do something else. After all the stakeholders have agreed on what needs to be done, and then for DFO to come back and say, no, we're going in another direction. Thanks anyways. You lose all credibility, and that doesn't last long. So they do follow the stakeholders, because they're at the table too, to making these decisions together, and they can support that. Local people with the science, with all the evidence, local government representation, making local decisions that affect those people in the community, the resources, the people that count, the resources, they're right there. They're the ones that count. They're the ones who know best. They're the ones that are going to pay the price down the road if they choose wrong. They're the ones. That's where we need to be making these decisions, not in some ivory tower halfway across the country.
Well, I agree. And when it comes to credibility, that's an upward climb for them right now as it is. So yeah, you're 100% right. How can you go rogue at this stage? I will say this. Sean took my question.
Yeah.
When you say that there's evidence that they know where the hatchery fish hang out, and just to ask a question from a devil's advocate standpoint, do hatchery fish and wild fish, do they not hang out together?
They know when they put the hatchery fish in when they stock a river, right, with hatchery fish, and those fish move down into the ocean, they hang out together and they move together. They move through the system together, and then as they're returning to that river to spawn, they sort of come as a group. So as they're heading back towards the river system from where they came, they pass by certain areas, as do all the different schools of fish moving towards these different, places of return. And they can tell that, okay, this fish stock will arrive at this time of the year at this river mouth, and to get here, it takes them this much time. So they backtrack, they reverse engineer the path, and they say, oh yeah, at this time of the year, they will be here. And by doing science year after year, by using angler science who capture the heads and turn in the heads of these fish, they know that these fish will be at this location at this time of the year. And based on the science, it's, 99.9% correct. And where other, fish of endangered are at different places in that sort of chain of transportation, there may be, 5 days behind, 15 days behind, a month behind. So it's spread out. They don't move in one big, like up in the Northeast Pacific, when they get into the gyre up there, it's just a free for all. I mean, all the fish are just mixed in together. They're all just sort of in that big gyre, just going around in a big sort of circle out there in the Northeast Pacific between Siberia and Alaska. And if you dip a net in there, you're going to catch just one of everything. But once they come down, they sort of recoalesce into their schools as they head towards where they came. And it's just the miracle of science, right? These fish just sort of, whether they call out to each other or whether it's just all coincidence, hey, we're all heading back to the same place, right? We're all heading back to the same destination. And it's totally being tracked now. Totally being tracked. This is science at the best, right? But there's not enough of this type of science happening yet. If we got a better understanding of the movement of these fish in and out of these river mouths, we would have so much more information to manage these fisheries in such a much more effective way. We could say, okay, here comes an endangered species. They're coming through. Everyone get their nets out. Everyone stop fishing for a week. And, all right, they're past, go back to fishing. Here comes the hatchery fish. They're going to be over on this location. Okay, we're going to open up a season over there for 6 days, 7 days. Okay, that's it. You're done. Let's let's move on to something else now. They can totally orchestrate this, and anglers are already doing this. They already have the data, and they're ready, keened up to do it. And the scientists are saying, yeah, we can do this. We can start to do this to regulate at that sort of micro level.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. Well said. And Corey, thanks so much for answering Sean's question in regards to what fin is clipped. It's the adipose fin in most cases that are clipped that will identify it as a hatchery raised fish. Pat is saying in their path, wild or not, are the Atlantic salmon farms. These floating festules of disease. Is there a stance that is being taken on those, or are we still going forward with these floating cages?
So about a halfway up on the east coast of Vancouver Island, the Minister of Fisheries Notions said by next summer, all those licenses, all those pens have to be out. They have to be out. That's done. And that was a huge amount of fishing operations going on there. And Alexander Morton, famous Alexander Morton, did all this research about the infestations, about the lice, about the disease and all the pestilence and all that, and she worked with the First Nations communities who live along there. And they said, you've got to stop killing our native fish species just to make some money here and employ a few of us. There's a few jobs, a handful of jobs, but a lot of, long lasting destruction. Get the nets out, just get the nets out. And the minister did this, but these two companies that operate these fish farms there, they're fighting back in court. They got permission to restock these nets, to put the fish into these nets, to grow them out, even though they know that they're not going to reach optimum harvest size by next summer. But they say, we got to put them somewhere. So instead of moving them or transporting them or euthanizing the smolts, no, they're putting them in the pens, and then they're issuing press releases saying, you're going to make us kill 10 million fish? What are you, crazy? Why would you make us euthanize 10 million fish before they're, suitable for consumption by humans? Right. It makes no sense. So they're playing politics. They're issuing reports. They're screwing with the numbers. And I should be, I don't want to get my ass suit off here, but they are really coming down hard on this minister to get this decision turned around in the courts, in the mind of the public eye, in public sentiment in terms of jobs and economic prosperity. They got mayors, they're lobbying the mayors in these small communities along that coast to get them to lobby the government to reverse this decision. So there's that going on for sure. There's that happening as well. There's no doubt about it. But we are seeing, some good changes and some good changes in the right direction on many fronts. There's a lot of good things DFO is doing at the local level in terms of hatcheries, in terms of habitat restoration, in terms of removing barriers to the movement of fish. There's a lot of runs of salmon that are rebuilding. The Port Alberni, it's a fully sustainable fishery, commercial, recreational, indigenous food and subsistence and celebration. All of those fisheries are happening well there because those people are making decisions about their fisheries. It's all working well. There are many places along the north coast, the northern coast of British Columbia that's doing well. So there's lots of examples of where things are doing well. We're focusing and we're talking about a handful of situations that are not doing well, and because that's where the problems are. But I don't want to give the impression that the whole thing's going down the toilet on the West Coast. It's not going down the toilet on the West Coast.
Well, nature has always shown that it will adapt and evolve, even when we seem to screw things up. She's a wondrous thing, and we take it for granted that it as bleak as it looks, somehow, some way, she'll turn it around for us. Now, in your Feel the Bite segment, what did you want to talk about? I forgot what you said in your chat. What did you want to talk about in your Feel the Bite segment?
Well, just catfish, right? So I'm thinking Red River. Here's the Red River flowing out of the United States north into Manitoba, right through Winnipeg. And dumping into Lake Winnipeg. It goes through some locks, I know, and through over a dam, and into Lake Winnipeg. And now is the time, right? May 1st to September. It's channel catfish. It's channel catfish season.
We saw Cameron Tate. Steve Shaw did a phenomenal edit on Cameron Tate, who's out that way, and he was hanging on to a channel cat, which looked in excess of 20 pounds, if not bigger. But a great edit. And yes, you're 100% right. They're on the move. And we're hoping we'll be able to get one of Jim's good friends on to talk about catfish in the very near future.
They say you're more likely to catch a 20-pound channel between Lake Winnipeg and the dam than you are to catch a 10-pounder or a 5-pounder. These big girls that come out of the lake, they head up. There's about a 5-mile stretch of the Red River there before they butt up against the dam, and you can fish in there all summer. And the chance of catching a 20-pounder are pretty high. It is. You know what? And so here's more science coming into play. They know these fish are there. They know these are the big breeding females. They know people don't want to catch these fish and eat them, because they're just too big. They're too old. They don't taste good. They're maybe a little bit more toxic than you'd want to eat because they bioaccumulated a bunch of stuff over their long life. So it's barbless hooks only. Barbless hooks only to make sure they go back, easy, right? So
Good stuff.
I know. Carolina rigging, my favorite way. We use Carolina rigs for bass, and I don't know if everyone's familiar with the Carolina rig, but it's basically a free floating sinker on the main line, and then a bead, and then the swivel. And the bead is important because that sinker's sliding up and down your main line, and if you don't put a bead there, that sinker's slamming up against your knot to the swivel, and it'll just fray your knot and break your knot off there. So you need to put that bead to protect your knot. Then you got your swivel. Then you got your leader, and going to maybe a 5-aught or a 6-aught circle hook, and try to use the non-offset. But here's a little tip for you: 6 inches before your circle hook, your barbless circle hook, insert a small float, a peg float that you would use for pan fishing, just a tiny one, right? Slide it onto the line, and then peg it so it's just about 6 inches above the hook. That way, when you've got your hook out there, when you've got your weight out there and it's on the bottom, you got your bottom, it's, the weight's on the bottom, and you got your 3 or 4 feet of leader going to the hook. That little float is just keeping that hook and the bait just off the bottom a little bit, out of the weeds, off the bottom, more into the sort of face of the catfish moving around. It's gonna get you more fish.
Awesome stuff. Well, Lawrence, as always, you bring us great tidings of great joy, and then sometimes not so much when it comes to
Oh,
some
yeah.
of the stuff that we hear that goes wrong.
Yeah.
But like it did with DFO, and we're talking about 20 and 30-pound cats. Corey's saying that blue catfish in the Columbia River, they can get bigger than 500 pounds.
Imagine.
Oh, smokes.
But if you're thinking of noodling,
Nope.
check again, because
Nope.
a lot of states have outlawed that now. A lot
Yeah.
of states, they're saying it's
and
too hard on the fish, too hard on the humans.
Too hard on the fish, too hard on the humans, man. You go in the wrong hole, and it's a snapping turtle
Or a snake.
or a snake, or a gator. Like, hello, yeah, noodling. No, not for this guy. No.
No, I know. Like I said, hey, I want to feel the bite. I'm always talking about feel the bite. I should do that, right? I should really feel the bite. Like, what's wrong with me here? So I've been Googling around, like, where do I noodle in Canada? Well, there's no noodling in Canada. We don't have
Just
that
don't do
size.
it. Just say no. There's some things that you leave to the professionals, Lawrence. Well, listen, as always, my friend, thanks so much for this. I really appreciate you joining us. And again, I will post. Let me get that up there again. If you want to learn more and hear the podcast in its entirety, CFN has exclusive rights to this link right now. It has not been shared with anybody else. Lawrence has set this up for us. So it's a 45-minute podcast. I highly recommend, especially if you're on the West Coast, you're going to want to listen to this. But thanks again, Lawrence. I appreciate it, and have yourself a fantastic week, my friend.
Thanks, Scotty. Thanks, everyone, for having me.
Right on. Always informative. It gets you thinking. Some great stuff that he brings each and every week that he's on here. He works very, very hard on it, and we are so friggin' lucky to have him on our side so that we can divulge into some of these things that we don't necessarily see. I think somebody mentioned it in the comments. It's not really in mainstream media. You're not going to hear this kind of stuff, right? So, but you're going to hear it here, and it's all because of Lawrence, and we really appreciate that. Next up, of course, is our good buddy Jay BARNUCZ. But before we get to Jay, here's a word from his sponsor.
The fear of failure is failure itself. The world of science rewards the ones who are willing to try and fail. Because without the courage to embrace failure, ideas remain ideas. But with that courage to fail and to learn, ideas can change the world.
Change the world. I like that. That's got a nice.
Wow.
Jay, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good, buddy. Doing good. I have to say, we didn't go fishing this weekend.
I was just going to ask you. Now,
Nope.
was that because you figured the crowds were going to be too big?
A little bit of that. Saturday, Sunday was pretty windy, so we wanted to go to the lake, and we didn't do that. But you know what it turned into? It turned into a weekend of a lot of family time at home. We had a fire. So I burnt so much wood this weekend. Like everyone saw my stories, and we're burning wood every night. So Friday night was just us, and then Heather, myself, and the kids. And then Saturday, my mom came over. My mom lives alone. She's a nurse at Woodstock General Hospital. So she came over. We cooked some burgers outside, had a nice party in the backyard.
Here's to mom, first responder, our patient cares and nurses that have been working feverishly through this whole thing. Hats off to you. You guys must be exhausted.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my mom, so she's got 30 years in. She could have retired last year or even 2 years ago, I think. If she's listening, she'll let me know if I'm wrong. She won't retire, Scott, because what she's doing is that she won't retire till the pandemic's over. So she feels her calling is to help others. And now she's not working any emerge or ICU, but she's on the floor managing patients. And during what's going on right now, there's a lot of patient transfers happening. So she's busy doing that, but she's still in PPE every day, and she won't quit. She won't retire till she's. Wow. And her logic is, though, the only people she wants to spend time with is her grandkids. And if she can't spend time with her grandkids, she'd rather keep working. She's in her 60s now, so but we look forward to Grammy retiring. So anytime now, I hope.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
listen, hats off to her. I'm sure the first 30 were a bit of an ordeal, but this last year probably is worse than the first 30. I can only imagine what they've been dealing with through this pandemic.
It's been tough. And then you know what though? But Saturday night was great. Mom made burgers, and my grandmother, who's 85, and Opa 93, they live down the street. So we cooked burgers for them, and we delivered their supper to them Saturday night. And then Sunday, Heather's mom and dad came over for a barbecue, again, all outside, all safe. We all got our butts kicked by washer toss by my father-in-law, Art. So Art's the washer toss champ. You know, it's funny. Trevor's always trying to outdo me at washer toss, and I'm not the best washer tosser. But usually Trevor and I kind of battle it out. Well, his grandfather stepped up, and there's Art. Arthur's his name. We call him Art. Bang, bang, bang. 3 washers right in the box, and I'm like, oh, here it comes. So yeah, Papa kicked butt at washer toss. So. Papa and I have a rematch coming up next weekend, maybe. So we'll see. I do
enjoy a good.
Well, Stephanie is not very good at washer toss, but she tries her best. So
we all do, and I enjoy that game as well. Especially, and this is the weekend to do it. May long weekend. I tell you, nothing better than a good game of washer toss. That's for sure.
Oh, Christina, you want to see the COVID hair? All right, okay, here it comes. There you go. There's the locks, the golden ram.
Do we really have to? Now, that flow was in fine form earlier this year. Well, unfortunately, it dried out a little bit.
During the pre-show, I just got out of the shower from doing the yard work and stuff and cooking. So, yeah, we're all getting the COVID flow. Yeah. Trevor lost his hockey hair last year. It hasn't grown back. So Dad's got most. Stephanie doesn't have the flow.
My hair does not grow.
No, the girls in our house have thin hair.
Flow, but
look at Scotty's. Look at that.
Right. Yes,
I'm still waiting on that paternity test for Big Jim and you. Like I'm not trying to start a controversy, but
he may never join us again on a Monday Live if that's the case. That might be it. Now, with June coming up, and of course, May has been hit or miss in regards to fishing. A lot of people have had different varying degrees of success. But June is usually the month, and I, as a walleye angler, I really look forward to June because June is the month that we see a lot of eyes catch. But we've been seeing a bunch caught already. Mm-hmm. What do you look forward to in the month of June?
Well, you know what? Actually, so that's what we did today. So today we actually didn't fish, but we spent 4 hours in the basement down here in the dungeon getting ready for fishing. CFN fish off is coming up, so we've signed up for that. So actually, I had Trevor come downstairs, and I'm trying to get Trevor to. So he has a desire to fish competitively with some of these events. So I'm trying to get him to come up with his own strategies, and then I'll ask him why are we doing this? Why are we going to do that? So, we sit down and we brainstorm about what we want to catch, what species we want to catch. He actually had me go through last year's results or 2019 results to see how did the drag pullers pull it off, so what 4-point fish they got, what 3-point fish they got, how many 1-point fish they got. So looking at the top teams, looking at where can we catch those fish and as close to home as we can without driving all over the province, right? So crunching those numbers, and even if there is a stay-at-home order or not, I'm not going to drive 5 hours to catch a white perch when I can drive half an hour. Like
it's a really good point that you bring up, and it's something that Mike and I talk about at great length because, at the end of the day, if there is a stay-at-home order, and you go out, you fish, and we know that you've gone somewhere that you shouldn't have, and you post that fish, unfortunately, you're going to put it in the laps of our judges to make a decision. And it's not because it's against CFN fish-off rules. It's against the law. Yeah. So it's something that Mike and I are definitely going to be talking about tomorrow. It's as excited as we are. You just brought up, unfortunately, a very sobering reality that, at the end of the day, we don't necessarily want everybody traveling all over the place. So there are going to be some rules in place to make sure that we are keeping everybody safe and we're not spreading.
Yeah,
this.
and I think, depending on how things roll out, and you know what, Scotty, these things will change as June progresses. I think that you'll see the first 2 weeks of the fish off, we might have to stay close to home, or we should. And then things might open up more, but we still might not be able to go interprovincial, right? So, but why we went through the results was, so I have some good friends who are posting channel cat pictures from Manitoba today. And there was a channel catfish contest this spring here in Ontario. And, the winning catfish was, I think, 34 inches or 35 inches. And my buddy caught 7 today that trumped that at the Red River. These are all high teens, low 20. So if we're in Ontario, if I need to get a channel cat, I'm probably not going to get a 4-point channel cat, but I could probably get a 1-point channel cat, maybe a 2. But, you have to be realistic. Unless I'm willing to drive to Manitoba, I'm okay with not catching a 4-point cat because I got all kinds of other species I can catch. Most of the better teams would catch 25 to 26 species, and most of those fish are 1-point fish. Amen. With a few 3s and 4s mixed in. Really, that's the winning strategy to me. And I've never done this before. I'm just looking at the past results.
100%. It is a multi-species tournament and a one-of-a-kind multi-species tournament, especially here in Canada. But you're exactly right. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily matter that you get the biggest fish, just as many of the species as possible. And for us here in Ontario, we have a bit of an edge because there are a lot of varieties of species of fish available to us. Not like, folks in Alberta, perhaps maybe not like folks in Manitoba or Saskatchewan. But then, of course, we have our 2 coasts. Yeah. And it's great seeing these Eastern Coast and our West Coast teams signing up because we have no idea what they're going to catch. And
yeah, even in the north, so this is open to fresh and salt water, Scotty. Yeah. So, just my knowledge of the fish in Canada and knowing some of the different, even some of the West species, like some of these large minnow species, that reside in some of the silver chub in the Saskatchewan River. Good luck catching a silver chub in Ontario. They only live out in the middle of Lake Erie and Lake St. Clair, and you got to use a bottom trawl to catch them. But they're in the Assiniboine River in Manitoba, for example, right? And they grow up to 12 inches long. So there's a lot of different species. So and I see anglers from all across Canada who have this figured out. You can see the species they're targeting. They know this, and I encourage everyone. I'll be honest. So my background is I've fished bass tournaments competitively through my life, off and on. I've made the national team twice. I've been to the U.S. twice to represent Ontario. So I'm all about going through old stats. I love it. So today we were mining previous CFN fish off data. It's all on the website. I was going through it, and the hamster was spinning on the wheel. And I'm like, because I had a game plan, and I wanted to see if my game plan would work. And I think it will. Now, will we win? I don't know, but we have a strategy in place, and we're going to make a go for it.
That's awesome. I got a question for you. Cliff is saying that octopus should count. Octopus is not a fish.
It's not a fish. It's not a fin. So I guess the definition would be it had to be a fish.
Yep.
A lamprey is a primitive fish. It's not a gilled fish. I don't know. That's a good question. I'd have to look up the definition of octopi, what they are. So.
And a controlled species like lamprey would not count. We're not trying to promote, those kind of invasive species by any means.
What about native lamprey species? They're at risk, though. What's your name on that?
Good question. The only one that really seems to come up is the American eel, and mostly because it's a protected species.
Yes,
we don't want folks targeting that fish. We are going to have to make some decisions, of course, on the West Coast as well. Some species may not be endangered, but they're threatened. So there's concerns about catching those fish. So we're going to have to make decisions very soon. We have been talking about it at great length, but you're right. Invasive species, depending on how long they have been in that.
Right. Yeah, it was naturalized. So species like goldfish are reproducing naturally in Ontario, right? You know, and round goby, they're reproducing naturally in Ontario. So there's some that are naturalized. So, you know, and
Bill's got a great point. How would you measure it? Yeah, good luck measuring an octopus. That's a great point.
Well, I think like I was thinking, yeah, you'd have to like lay down beside it and kind of stretch it out and have someone videotape you like stretching out this octopus. I don't know how the heck you'd do it, but
that would be interesting to say the least. Absolutely.
Well, so what we did today though was because of the fish off coming up, and we know we're not going to be home as much in June. Not saying we won't be traveling like overnight places, but you know, there'd be some long days and a little less family time. So we spent a bunch of time at home this weekend, but I'm going to bring Stephanie in for a second. She wants to show you guys something. So because Stephanie's going to tag along with Trevor and I on some of these fish shops, she wanted to get her, where's your bag? So this is what she got she got this for Christmas this year. And so we had to load it up with some tackle. Now she's not fully loaded yet. Oh, and she's got her power bait. And you zoom in on, that's her walleye killer color right there. The golden shiner. That's her walleye. What do you fish that on, Stephanie? What kind of rig do you use? With the single hook and the sinker, what do you call that? Drop shot.
Drop shot.
Yep. So she's ready to tag along on some of the adventures of the. What are you going to show? Oh, she's going to bring something else up. So we spent today getting ready, Scotty. Like, you know, when we're going to fish for 4 weeks. We got rods and reels to rig up, and we got gear to organize, and we got the cooler out. We're gonna be like a road tripping bunch for 4 weeks. So, so she's got her box. All right, we're gonna show off some of Stephanie's favorites. What do we got here? Oh, so at the Bassmasters class a couple years ago,
nice.
Mike Iconelli had the Ike Foundation booth, and you could paint your own lure.
Nice.
You could paint your own lure, and you get to take it home with you. So she did that. And her favorite jig trailer, by the way, from Perfect Jig. That is a hot pink jig trailer, Stephanie's favorite.
Nice.
And I don't know if we should be showing some of these things.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, that's her Berkeley General. That's her. She lost a 5-pound bass on that at the cottage a couple years ago. Yeah. So she actually wrote a story about it at school this week. She had to write about a memory where she learned something from. And so she wrote about her 5-pound bass at school this week, and Dad had to help her. So yeah, she's got all kinds of cool stuff in here. So she's ready to go. But Mom went through her bag, and Mom says you need your sunscreen, you need your pliers. Heather's all about the safety, so we need to update. Dad didn't do a good job of like everything in the bag, so we got to add some things to the bag. So
I gotta ask you this. Christina's asking. She said Jason. Oops, not Jason Lattiser. I meant Jason BARNUCZ. What's the record for silver red horse? I caught a 28.25 yesterday, and I do know it was Bill Landry. I don't know how big that one was, but it was massive out in Saskatchewan.
Yeah. So that's a good question. You know what? I don't know so I forget what the provincial record is for Ontario. The Ontario record, I'm looking at it right now, is the maximum length is 77 centimeters. That's big. So what's that? 77 centimeters?
That's 3/4 of a meter. That's almost 3 feet. Wow.
Yeah. So it's over. That'll be over 30 inches for sure, right? Yeah, probably 32 inches that long. So, but I think the Ontario record, if you look up the Ontario, OFAH has it, Ontario Fish Registry. You can look up the current status, and there's been a few CFN folks that have taken advantage of that, and they've got their name listed in there for different oddball species like silver red horse, right? Greater red horse, river
Buffalo
red
was another one that came to mind. Yeah.
So, and these fish, I've seen a lot of what I'm going to call record silver red horse, but I don't think they're records. I'm not saying, Christina, the fish that you had is awesome fish. Trevor got one this year in the high 20s too. These aren't documented. They're not well documented. So I think that a silver red horse, that's pushing 27, 28 inches. I think it's just, I'm going to say it is a record technically, or close to a record, but it's just big. It's just a big fish. And I think that because red horse are so undocumented, scientifically, I could probably go through my data set at work and I could tell you how big we've seen them as. And I've seen huge ones that never get documented as for an angling record because we caught them electrofishing like or in a trap net or something, right, Scotty? So
dude, the electrofishing, you just it brought back memories on the Talbot River and Salmon River, as well as the Napanee. And when they do the electrofishing, I wish we had smartphones back then, because some of the fish that we catch and we see and we promote on CFN pale in comparison to some of the absolute giants walleye that I have seen, especially the Talbot River. There were fish, I swear, that were in excess of 20 pounds in the Talbot.
You know what? And electrofishing doesn't even catch. It's not even good at catching fish. Like, it only goes down in the water like 6 to 7 feet if there's current or if the water's a little off color. A lot of the fish are shocked. They're stunned. You don't even net them. They just drift away and they revive and swim off. Yeah. So, like, to be honest, it really, you only see some of the fish. Like, when you hit those spawning runs for walleye, some of those fish, like I've personally netted some massive walleye. In fact, I'll tell a story about the Thames River at the forks of the Thames, where the South Thames meets the North Thames, right by Western University. I remember electroshocking in there in the early 2000s, like 2004. And literally, I was up at the front of the boat. It was a 2-man boat, Scotty, so it was a smaller boat. So one guy's on the back with a tiller, and I'm at the front netting. And I swung the net because I saw a fish come up. I swung the net, 10-pound steelhead. Okay, this was in late March. The boat turned because the operator saw another fish coming up to my left, turned the boat. So I just I still got the steelhead in the net. I lacrosse this thing up and around, 10-pound walleye. So I had a walleye and a steelhead in the same net, flopped them in the bin. Right out of if people want to know what the Thames River can produce, you don't know what the Thames River is one of the coolest fisheries in southern Ontario, because you can catch buffalo, walleye, river red horse, there's catching muskies in downtown London. Like, that place is so cool, and it's about an hour from my house. I don't get to go there enough, but man, it's a cool place. Cool fishery.
Unreal. Well, I heard the Leafs just scored. I could hear my son screaming in the background, so we're getting updates.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Lloyd just posted 30.5 inches.
Yeah,
Lloyd, is that for Ontario? I'm assuming Ontario.
I think he was doing the conversion for me on that 72 millimeters.
Okay.
Centimeters.
Okay.
So
for that,
I want to actually mention. I was doing some reading. Did you guys happen to see Big Jim's? He shared an article this week about what walleye see. Did you read that?
Yes, I didn't get a chance to read it, but I did see it.
So I really recommend. I know there's a few walleye anglers, like avid walleye anglers on this show. Okay. You need to read that article. I think now it doesn't tell you anything really new, I think, Scotty, but things like, so walleye have these highly developed cone cells that allow in more light, but they don't have good detail, but allows them to feed better at low light. But they can only really see reds and greens and yellows. Anything beyond that spectrum, that's why a lot of our walleye lures are in that. Doesn't mean you can't use a purple lure to catch a walleye. Yeah. Because there's vibration and there's color can change in depth of water. There's other variables in there. But one thing that really hit home with me, and I never thought about this, and I've heard Jim say this before, and I'm not saying I didn't believe Jim. I just want to know why. Sometimes you hear a statement and you're like, why is that? Well, fish can't see UV, right? And so these UV lures are like, they're cool, right? Like, I use a lot of glow-in-the-dark baits, and some of the UV colors that they make, there's different companies that market a UV color. They're a great-looking color, like nice and vivid green or pink or chartreuse. Well, here's the deal. UV light to be seen has to react with sunlight. So if you put that lure down in the water, the UV, now it doesn't mean the fish doesn't see that and think it's something else, but traditional UV light won't react well with isn't a good fishing lure color, because when it goes in the water, it's out of the air under the water, and the sunlight has to hit it to react.
Yeah,
I never thought about that.
No, it's amazing. And the other thing too, when it comes to eyesight and walleye, they are just a marvel at what it is that they can see. They can see the mayfly hatch. When you see the mayfly hatch, you'll have walleye that will swim from 20 feet down to attack those mayfly. I have the luxury of seeing walleye that are in 18, 19, 20 feet of water. I'll throw a minnow out and it'll simply splash on the surface, and within seconds I've got 4 or 5 of them fighting over it. So it's amazing what they're able to see at night. not necessarily just during the day, but at night. It's a marvel of technology. Speaking of another marvel of technology, and I'm glad you brought this up, Christina, because this was really cool, and I'm sure Jay, you saw it. But
I saw I'm reading her comment now.
Yeah, it was a post that was shared about the Thunder Bay Steelhead Association. It was the same caught fish, and you see the deformity in the face. It was a wound. I'm sure it was something.
I think it looked like an otter or an eagle, like it gouged a chunk out of its snout.
That's I wanted to say it wasn't an angler, it was an animal that caused that injury. But it's amazing to see how quickly a year later it healed, because they caught the exact same fish. Really cool stuff.
Like fish are amazingly resilient. Like they go through so much. They live a tough life. Like it's eat or be eaten. Like that's their whole life. Like we embrace fish and we have an emotional attachment to fish. At the end of the day, fish are just they wake up, they eat, they swim around, they try not to get eaten, and that's how they go about their life.
Amen.
And that story about that steelhead was really cool.
Yeah.
And it shows how steelhead can survive. Like this fish had gone up the river, was caught, had spawned. It's a repeat spawner. And by the way, data shows that the genetics of repeat spawning fish really fuels the population of a river. Like for steelhead, those repeat spawners have it down.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that will make more repeat spawners. So those long-lived repeat spawning steelhead, and I think the same could be said for walleye, suckers, any of those species that revisit these tributaries. I think that in the end, those are the toughest fish around for a reason. The genetics are great, and I think that fish is a great example of what can happen, right?
Absolutely.
It's a survivor. And a big fish too, a big fish. And
100%.
Kudos to the Steelhead Association for being out there doing that work. Shout out to them.
So we're going to do more of that. And you're 100% right. Some of the stuff I think you tagged me or shared as well. We had our North Bay folks up north. They were stocking young walleye fry. I thought it was really cool. They got some young kids involved in it. We're going to be posting that on Walleye Wednesday. But you're 100% right, Jay. We can't say it enough. There are so many groups out there doing some great work. And I can't emphasize this enough, that they need your help, especially some of the youth, an influx of youth helpers.
We need everyone reaching out to their local community, looking for those local, maybe you're not a walleye angler, but you're going to go volunteer at a walleye hatchery. There's so many of these opportunities that we don't even know exist. You have to look for them and reach out, but find those local stewardship groups that are doing the work, get involved with them, and you'll be surprised how many there are. And if you're not sure, reach out to OFAH. They liaison with all these clubs. Like the community hatchery program is run through OFAH. Contact OFAH if you're a member, especially. Contact them and say, here's where I live. Where can I join up with a local, either a hatchery group or a local fish and game club? Who can I get involved with? Because I think sometimes we want to get involved, but we don't want to wear the hat, but we want to help do the work, right? So Scotty, you wear hats, I wear hats. Not everyone's a hat wearer, right? So, but there are people like, dude, I just like you, man. I run so many projects every year prior to all this chaos. And I have 24 people that don't want to be in charge, but I'll call them. They'll be there next Saturday. No problem. They'll be there before I'm there. They'll bring me a coffee because they're there to help, and they'll run the show when I'm there. I don't even have to lift a finger sometimes, but they don't want to be in charge. So there's so many of us out there like that. Join a local group, get involved, and reach out to them now, because it's groups like those that are going to really need our help after this pandemic's done with. So, like Yvonne's group, OWA, is just one example of a group that they're hurting right now because they can't run their fundraisers. They can't. Their finances are in kind of disarray because they can't do what they want to do. Yeah, Richard Elliott, bang on, Bill. Like, Richard's another one. I'd probably put him at the top of the list when it comes to engagement with hatcheries and the community and kids. Like, he's number one. So reach out to Richard Elliott. He'll find you a local hatchery. Go to his reach out to him on Facebook. Like, I was talking to him today about fishing because he's catching these great bowfin. I saw a lot of bowfin.
See some of those? Those were giants.
I'm not going to give any of it away, but he was doing something that was kind of oddballish, and I fully went on Facebook. I'm like, okay, so I see those great bowfin. How are you catching them? Like, I catch bowfin around here, but I'm always curious how others target bowfin. And he's just a great guy, and he shares information, and he does such great work, and I'm happy to call him a friend. So yeah, but for those of you that want to reach out to Richard about getting involved with a hatchery or a fish and game club, he's probably the best contact for most, I'll say Southern Ontario, but I mean like everything from Toronto west up to Owen Sound down to Windsor. He's the guy. He's the guy.
Amen. Absolutely.
So,
and we look forward to hearing some of his stories about the CFN retreat. Now that you're all packed, what's up for the BARNUCZ family this week?
You know what? Well, we got some lawns to cut. So, hey, he's saving up for Trevor's saving up for a kayak. He is set for a kayak. He wants to get one. So I see a kayak in his future next year. His plan is to fish competitively with kayaks. When he's 15, which will be, he's 13 now, not next year, the year after. When he's in his 15th year, he can fish competitively in the Ontario kayak events as an adult. So we're going to start training next year. I put a link in the chat room because I wanted to mention this. We were talking.
Is that the app that I'm talking about that I saw on Facebook?
So this is the app that I use. It used to be free. Now I think it costs you $1 in the Apple App Store, but it has an animated link to it. So you click on the knot you want, you press play, and the animation's really good. And you can pause it at each point in the knot tying. So if you want to learn how to tie a snell, a uni knot, double uni, it's one of my preferred apps. And the link I put up, they actually have other knot. This guy's made all kinds of knot apps for like making nets and stuff too. But they have one. He has a pay version for Google Play. I think it's $1.20, and for Apple it's 99 cents. But I've had it for years. And I love it. It's the knot app that I use, but there's other ones out there. There might be free ones. YouTube's got great ones too, but I like the app on my phone. So if I'm out and about or I want to show someone a knot, I can play a video for them when I'm out and about off my phone, which is pretty handy. So
right on, Jay. Well, listen, another great segment, lots of information. Truly appreciate you giving us a plug at the CFN Fish Off. I think it's cool that you're getting ready with your kids, because that's what we aim for that. I don't know how Kevin Lowen out in Manitoba does it with his 6 kids, but families that fish together stay together, and I think they're awesome when they compete in the CFN.
Trevor's he's got to stay on top of his schoolwork. He's got to be ahead of his schoolwork. Nothing gets delayed. Assignment gets. So I said, when the fish are biting and Dad's free to go fishing, we're going. And if you have schoolwork to do, get it done. So this whole thing is, and he's sitting right over there now, he's listening to Dad rant. This whole thing is not just about fishing. It's trying to instill in a 13-year-old, get your stuff done, learn to time manage a little bit, because and I'm competitive. So, I'm not saying we're going to win or not, but we're going to definitely go for it. And so he's got to step it up a little bit, but we're going to get there.
Good show. Well, listen, BARNUCZ family, thanks so much for joining us tonight, as you do each and every Monday. Happy Victoria long weekend to you as well.
Thanks,
And
everybody. Hey, listen, go Leafs. Go. Let's get
amen,
it,
brother.
All right,
Amen.
guys.
Right on. Well, we are just about to do our giveaway. I see Jerry is in the lobby. Rick's about to chime in as well. But before we get to that, here is yet another word from our sponsor. Meet the Hooligans. Wow, that's not a very good segue for this what we're doing tonight. I would never call you guys hooligans. In fact, you are extremely generous CFNers and huge partners in our community, and we really appreciate you joining us, sticking around, being patient, but you've got some stuff to give us away. Rick, why don't you start by what it is that you are going to be presenting our CFN community?
Well, tonight we're giving away one of our jerseys, our inaugural jerseys from the Devil's Rock Tackle Company. And there's 20 advertisers on there, local, some national sponsors, and one out of the States advertisers. And we left 5 spots, I believe it is, for some nonprofits to get the word out for them. And so all you had to do was tag one of your mom and pop tackle stores and get your name in for a ballot.
And I'm feverishly looking through here because I thought I had it uploaded. But for whatever reason, it's not there, and I apologize. I guess I took it down. Anyway, I know it was there on Thursday, but I don't have a picture of it. Anyway, the picture is on the post from yesterday as well as today. You can see it, and if you win it, you're going to get to see it firsthand. But definitely some great representations of folks, good folks, that are here in our community that provide, great products, great services. So, Rick, you've done your homework, my friend. You've got quite a team behind you, and it's a snazzy looking jersey, if I don't say so myself.
Let's spin it.
Let's do it now, Jerry. Before we do spin the wheel, because it will be our runner-up and our winner that are going to be sharing in this. And Skunk Fishing, I did again have your logo here. I don't know why I don't have Rick's. I apologize, Rick, for that.
It's all good.
But Skunk Fishing, you have put a little bit of a twist in what folks at CFN are going to be winning when it comes to your apparel. So why don't you tell us about it?
Well, tonight we're doing the giveaway. So the winner, we are actually going to go right onto my store, and we're going to customize a full hoodie for the CFN member and the fish off. So I'm going to go through that with the winner. And again, shout out to Be a Kitchen Hero Spices. I'm going to be adding to the giveaways to give you some spice to add to your fish fries, shore lunch, you name it. We got it. And it is awesome. And, I just want to say thanks to Jason, Jim, and Lawrence, because their stories, everything that we just talked about for tonight's episode, the passion that Jason just shared with us, with his kids just waiting and wanting to get out there. We haven't had the greatest of weather here. We had some ice rain on the weekend. A lot of people lost some trees. We had power outages for 9 to 12 hours. So it's about community, right? So we had a lot of stuff going on over this long weekend, and we talked about it on Thursday. May long weekend brings a lot of upset, and today was one of those things that we shared tonight. I got hail tonight. I got rain. We have sun. Did you think I got out fishing? No. But I'm glad for everybody who did get out fishing, and the sun's shining right now. So I am actually going to do a supper prep, and I will be posting this on the Skunk Fishing website as well as the CFN, just letting you know that I am using my spice that I'm offering right now for the giveaway, and we will we'll post it and we'll enjoy.
Right on. Well, here's the wheel. That's what it looks like. Those are all of our CFNers that qualified for this spin. We usually like to shuffle the board at least 1 to 6 times. So the first one that puts a number up in the comments will decide how many times we shuffle it. But those are our logos there. Curtis, I think you were going to put a number, but you almost got there. First number 1 to 6. That's how many times we're going to shuffle the board before we start spinning it. Tony is on the ball as always. 4 is the number, so we're going to shuffle it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. 25 wicked entries. All of you CFNers that tagged your local favorite tackle shops and mom and pop shops, we really appreciate you doing that. So how it always is, we're going to spin it till the last 2 individuals are left. We are then going to spin it one final time to find out who is the runner-up, who will be winning the Devils Rock jersey, and who is our winner, who will be winning the Skunked Fishing prize pack, including those wicked spices. So here we go. Let's spin it.
Good luck, everyone.
First spin.
Good luck, folks.
Good luck to everyone. And again, thanks to the generosity of both Skunk Fishing and Devil's Rock Tackle Company. And the first one eliminated, Tony. Oh, man. My apologies, Tony. Thanks so much for participating. Tony, it's not often that Tony's the first one out, I'll tell you. He's usually the last one out. So that means somebody else has a chance tonight. It's not going to be Tony's. Who's it going to be? We have to get down to the last 2 names. Will Badger, looks like you're out. Sorry, Will. I apologize, Will. Thanks so much for tagging your store, your favorite shop. In the meantime, as we're spinning the wheel, and let's see who the next one is. Trisha Wallace. Well, you've been lucky. Lately, you've been lucky, Trisha, but apologize that tonight is definitely not your night. Now, if folks don't win tonight, Rick, where would they go to purchase Devil's Rock Tackle Company merchandise?
They can go right to my page. At the top of my page is the jersey offer. We are putting the order in tomorrow, so you'll have to move your buns to get an order in. But there is a lot of our other products on the page as well. We don't have a website just because it's too much to manage, but everything is pretty much on the Facebook page.
Right on. Well, there you go. So if you don't win Devil's Rock, that's where you go to order all your tackle needs. Rick will certainly help you out, point you in the right direction. Dave, so sorry, my friend. My apologies. I feel horrible when we do this, but it's so great when we get to the end when we have 2 winners, and we're going to find out very shortly. We have 21 entries left. We have to get down to the 2 last remaining. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Ryan Telfer? Oh, yes, Ryan Telfer. My apologies, my friend. Tonight is not your night either. Let's see who's going to be next. Is it going to be Kyle? Oh, poor Kyle. Jeez, man.
Oh, no.
Wow. Sorry, Kyle. My apologies, my friend. It's not a Western thing. It's not an Ontario thing. It's a Canadian thing, and we want all of you to win. But as I said, we are so gracious. Oh, so, jeez. Walter. It's like we've taken aim. Seriously. I know. It's like we've taken aim to our Western folk. I feel bad. In the meantime, Jerry, if folks are looking to purchase some Skunked Fishing swag, where would you direct them?
Skunkfishing.ca. We have our website, and you can check us out on Facebook. Everything's available. Everything's customizable. You can find us on Instagram as well. And we will be getting everything through Be Kitchen Hero Spices. So, yeah, everything is coming along, Scotty. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Right on. Well, we'll keep spinning to find out who our winners are. They don't necessarily have to go to either Devil's Rock or Skunk Fishing right away because they're going to have their own little prize pack. Let's find out who it's going to be. Jeez, man.
Oh, just went over the line.
Holy crap. Well, Lloyd, I see Lloyd still left, so we still have Saskatchewan represented on the wheel. It's nice to see you still in here in the running, Lloyd. Hopefully you're not next. Hopefully I didn't just jinx you. Mike Gilchrist, looks like it's going to land. Is it you or Joe Hardy? Is it? It's going to be close. Holy crap, man.
Mike.
Holy smokes.
Joe Hardy.
Mike, by the skin of your teeth, buddy, you survived. Is that going to be an omen? That could be an omen. Mike survived. Oh, is it Jerry? Jeremy? No. Oh, sorry, Jeremy. We're getting down. We've got 15 names left on the wheel. We have to get down to the last 2. Who's next? Oh, Sean. Sorry, buddy. For all
We're sending
you do,
Sean a package anyways tomorrow.
there you go. Sean, you're still a winner, my friend.
Yeah.
You may not have won tonight, but you're a winner in our hearts.
Absolutely, Sean. We'll talk later.
David or Sarah. Oh, man, by the skin of his teeth again. So sorry, Sarah. Wish it had been you. You've been lucky lately. You've had some good luck lately, but David Speaker is still in the running, still by the skin of his teeth. Oh, Richard, another one. I hate seeing these names get chosen so early. I would love to see Richard win, but he's been lucky lately too. He's given them some great prizes. We're down to 12. We're a little more than half the wheel to go. Who is it going to be? Krista or David? Holy smokes.
Oh, no.
Holy jumping.
That was so tight. That's
tight. Ridiculous. Oh, sorry, David. You've had a great weekend, though. You've got some nice fish this weekend, so it hasn't been a total loss. Who's next? Oh, please tell me it's not going to be the no. Oh,
it is
I tell you, don't hold this against me, Saskatchewan folk.
I'm done, Scotty. Thanks.
Yeah. I feel horrible, man.
I don't know what to do.
This wheel is terrible for that. Christina, so sorry for you as well. We still have some great names still left. We've got 9 names to go. Is it Nick or is it going to be Rocky? Holy crap,
Rocky.
This wheel is... Sorry, Rocky. My apologies. We're down to 8. 8 names left on the wheel. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Is it Dan or Terry? Dan or Terry? Holy jumping. This wheel is right on the edge. I don't think it's ever been this close before. Sorry, Dan. Still got some big names left. Terry's in the house. Steve's here. Nick's still here. Scott Wallace is here. Who's next? Is it Steve Shaw? Oh, sorry, Steve. Steve is out. My apologies, my friend. Down to 6. We're getting there. We're trying to get down to 2 names so we can decide who the runner-up is and who the final grand prize winner is. And Curtis, it doesn't look like it's going to be you. My apologies, my friend. You hung in there, though, dude. All right, let's see who's next. We got Nick, Scott, Terry, Mike, and Krista. Is it going to be Krista? Oh, man. So sorry, Krista. Nothing but the lads that are left. We got 4 of them. Mike, Terry, Scott, and Nick. Who's next to fall? Who's next to be removed? We got to get down to 2. This will take us to 3. Is it Scott? Is it Nick? Is it Nick? Is it Scott? Is it... Holy smokes.
Oh.
Scott Wallace. So sorry, my friend. Those are the 3 names. Let's find out who the 2 finalists are. Nick, Mike, or Terry. Here we go. The suspense is killing me. Is it going to be Mike? Is it going to be Nick? Holy smokes, this is unreal. Holy no. This wheel has never done this to me. So here we are, Terry and Mike Gilchrist. The next one to be chosen is our runner-up, and you will be getting a jersey from Devil's Rock Tackle Company. The winner will, of course, receive Skunked Fishing. And I like the fact, I like who's left here. These are big names. Let's see who our runner-up is. Good luck to you both. And it looks like Terry Snyder is going to be our winner. Mike Gilchrist, congratulations to you, my friend. You win the Devil's Rock Tackle Company jersey with some great members that are on that jersey as well. You are in a very good class, as you always are. And congratulations, Terry. You are our grand prize winner.
Yeah, Terry, just flip us a message on Facebook. Go to our page. We're going to need your name, whatever name you want on the back of the jersey and the size, and we'll get that to you as soon as they come in.
Right on. I'll make sure I'll get the winners in touch with you guys. Thanks so much again on behalf of all of us at CFN. Thanks for doing what you did. Thanks for doing what you do, and thanks for being a part of our CFN family.
It's been a pleasure.
Right on, guys. Enjoy the game. Thanks for sticking around, for your patience, and we'll be chatting with you real soon.
Right on.
Have a good night,
Right
guys.
on, guys.
Thank you.
Take care. All right. That's the end of another incredible show. Thanks again to Devil's Rock Tackle Company, both Rick and Jerry from Skunked Fishing. That was a great prize. This Thursday, I want to remind you, we have Cameron Tate on board, who will be joining me with Stuart Brown, and we are going to be discussing the CFN cook-off. So this Thursday, tune into that. We'll be discussing that. And of course, tomorrow is TNT Thursdays with me and Mike discussing everything CFN Fish Off. Thanks for everyone who stuck around. Congratulations again to our winners. And stay safe. Stay classy. Love you all. Take care. Peace.